welcome everybody to the second hour of Mind Shifters Radio. And today is Wednesday, January the 19th, 2022. And our calling number is 563-999-3581. And press 1, and that puts you into queue to talk to us. And we'd love to hear your comments and your questions because that makes this your show. We'll give Michael just a minute to get dialed in. I'll direct you to, we've been going over Friday, Monday, yesterday. We went over the abbreviated worksheet and the more detailed worksheet from the app. And if you haven't downloaded the app or you haven't updated it, go to your app store, whether it's Google Play or Apple Store, and download Heartland Aramaic Forgiveness. And you'll see that you can access two different worksheets. You can access the Dragon Klingon game, which we are going to discuss today. And I'm actually waiting for Daniel and JJ to call in. They are the ones who took the adult worksheet, the children's worksheet, and they turned it into a game. And you can actually download the game from the website in a PDF format, so you can do it, long form. But then it's also within the app, and you can play it. It will take you step by step, A through Z. And Danielle and JJ are going to be with us, and they're going to explain or help us explain the game and how it evolved, and we're real excited to have them with us. And, the game is really fun. And one of the things, like I said yesterday, whereas on the adult worksheets we tell you if you have different thoughts or different feelings or whatever, to list them on different worksheets. But the children's game is set up so that, they get more points, the more emotions, the more feelings, the more thoughts that they tap into. And as they release them, if you're doing it on the app, as you release it, the dragon growls. And so it's really pretty cool. And so I'm going to welcome Michael, and then I'm going to say I see Danielle and JJ's number, so I'm going to go ahead and turn on their microphone as well, and we welcome you to the show.
Sweet. Welcome, everybody. Delighted that you're here. Danielle and JJ, it's an honor to have you with us.
Hi, Michael. Can you hear us okay?
Hey, you're loud and clear. And for anybody who doesn't know them, Daniel and JJ, back in the early days of Heartland, back in 1989, actually lived on the property for, I'm not even sure for how long, but they were there and helped to kick Heartland off, get it off the ground, and renovating buildings and getting the center started back in 1989. And it's kind of weird that the last two summers, because of COVID, we haven't opened the doors at Heartland. So it's nice to have you guys with us.
Hey, it's nice to hear you.
Hey, yeah, you guys are in Florida right now?
Yep.
We are.
Sweet. Well,
nice time
yesterday,
of year to be in Florida.
Yeah.
Say again?
I say it's a nice time of year to be in Florida.
Yeah, I bet it is. Yeah, it's about 45 degrees here right now, so it's a little on the chilly side. Yeah. Anyway, we've done a renovation on the Heartland Aramaic Forgiveness app, and one of the things that Jeannie put into this version of it is a place where on every page people can just click a button and send a question directly to us, and then we've got it set up so that we answer it on the radio show, and then we'll send an email back and let people know the answer to their when we answered their question, so they can listen if they're not able to do the show live. And in response to some questions, I had gone through the two different worksheets that are on the app, and at the end of it, a young lady from out west called in and explained how she was impacted, and I think perhaps Julie might be on the show today. She indicated she was going to in our Mind Shifters and Still Point Breathing workshop last night. But she expressed that she had gone to the app and that it really opened another space for her beyond worksheets. So I had the thought after we got off the phone of sharing the Dragon Klingon game with them, with the audience, and that seeing as how you guys were so involved in bringing it together, actually created the game out of the forgiveness process and work that we did. It just seemed like a kind of gives some texture and depth to, and some understanding of the background of it for our audience who, we've got people anywhere from probably Thailand and Australia, and you guys probably remember, I think you met Peter from Sweden. He's been back to Heartland several times since. So just welcome to the show. It's nice to hear your voices.
Yeah, it's nice to hear you.
Yeah. Tell us what inspired you to move from the forgiveness worksheet process and the forgiveness work that we're doing to, assembling it in the way of an app. And I know, JJ, back then in particular, I think you were working with kids. So just kind of fill us in a little bit and give us some history.
Yeah, you got the answer right there. I was working with kids all the time, teaching, and I'm a social worker and tutor and that sort of thing. And so, and 8 kids in my family. So always been doing kids, and I adapted it for them. And it turned out that some adults were saying, hey, it's pretty good too. But in the classes that I was teaching in the charter school over in Angel Fire, which is just by Taos where we were, the kids really responded to it, and the getting the points and being able to truth and have it be fun, well, that's what made it work.
Yeah, so kind of what we did is we took, one of your original versions, Michael, that you had made of the worksheet, and pretty much transposed it step by step. Obviously it's a powerful psychological process to go into one's, issues with such fine detail, and you did just, a really great job over the years of refining that step by step process. And what we did is took that process and gave it a little bit different form here, added the thing with the dragons and the points, and trying to make it a little bit more fun in a way that we find encourages people to do it. They're more likely to actually do it, which is great, of course. And people like games, so adding points. Oh, the more feelings you say, the more points you get. Well, I like points, so more is good, etc. So yeah, we worked out the paper form of this, and now you've got the app version, which is almost word for word what our original version was. And then when you get to the end of it, you can add up all your points, and it tells you how you're doing basically. So basically, we just repackaged it in the form of a game, as JJ said initially, so that kids could maybe understand it better. But we find that adults also, tend to do it more if we make it into a game. So that's really the history.
When I presented it, I would present it as a class. So it works for me. It can work any way you want. But I presented it as a long-term thing. So I taught the concepts to the kids and made them play all kinds of games around them. These were ages in high school. And then for their final, they filled out one of these forms, and they filled as many as they went out and got points for that. So this was the final, as well as how we worked through the semesters. And that's the game. And they really liked the dragon game.
That's
and
awesome. I didn't know that piece of the history. That's pretty cool.
Yes. Which piece is that, Michael?
You mean the high school version?
You just shared that it was a final for the kids and such. That was just a new piece of information for me.
And so they wanted a lot of points because they got more points. And I gave every kid that completed the thing an A, and didn't stop me.
That's awesome. Well, the things that people drag on in their lives and the things that cling on to us without our being aware that it's really us dragging them on and getting clear on them is quite an interesting and a fun process. And I don't know if Julie is there. I know that during we do our monthly Mind Shifters and Still Point Breathing workshop, and Julie Matthews is a member of it. And last night there was something she was going to share, and she said, well, I'll just wait till the show tomorrow, seeing as how we're going to talk about it.
She is on.
Jeannie, is Julie there? Hey there, Miss
She
Julie.
is on.
I'm here. Thank you.
Hey. So I just wanted to check in, and these are the creators of the game, and thought you might like to share a little bit with them of your experience and how it impacted you.
Okay. Well, I happened to use it in the middle of the night. I was traveling and didn't have worksheets with me, and I was going to the forgiveness app and accidentally got onto the Dragon Klingon game. And I am a teacher too, and I've always kind of wondered about it, so I guess this was my opportunity, and I went ahead and used it. And I skipped the points thing. I wasn't too worried about it. I just kept going on, I usually have several feelings going on at once. And but you know what was fun? It was really freeing for me to approach it as a child, kind of. Like I felt like I was applying more of my whole self to the worksheet, knowing that, and I've been doing this work since 2011. That's when I was first introduced to this work. So I know that there are roots to everything, and that a lot of them do go back to childhood. But this was like right at the get-go, in a friendly way of saying, yeah, this is my child. This is something in my child going on with me right now. And I felt like I got really far with it and reunited with my delightful well-beingness of my child. And that was a nice integration. It really was. And I could move quickly through it and just trust it, and that's a childlike well-being quality, isn't it? So
and we all have that child in us, and that's what makes it, just allows you to tap into that child who really knows the answers.
Yes. And I'm a senior, by the way, and I'm a very healthy and young senior and active and all of that. And a good credit to the work here in the last 10, 20 years, 10, 15, 10, whatever, 11 years. So I'm on that track, and I guess it's an integration of some sort. Because, Michael talks about how we are using when we use this work, and I'm letting that be true and work on all levels. And so part of it is integrating with that ever-eternal child, enter the kingdom as a child. So I just really like it. And I have another application in mind I could let you know.
Sure. What?
Tell us about it.
It's something that I've been always holding in my background as a student of Michael and Jeannie and the work, but I like this idea of putting it into a game that makes it more friendly to adults who have so many layers of crustiness and now I'm not going to do that and all of that. There's openings that are possible. And what my gift is music. And I've always had this dream, even long ago, that I was doing forgiveness concerts. And I know. And so I need a simple way to kind of guide a group in the forgiveness process while I'm also doing the music. And I've had to set this all aside and I don't know if I'm ever going to get to it. I've done forgiveness work on myself with God, like, I'm sorry, I'm letting you down, God, and all this. But I really see a new approach, a fresh approach here. And so thank you for your inspiration. And I may use it, I may modify it. We're all learning to apply it everywhere in our life, and it's taking root everywhere. And so I see what you've done as another signal of appreciation that I have, that this work is going out. So I thank you.
Well, I thank
perhaps
you. And you can stay in touch with me if you wish through Michael. And, we can talk about it some more.
Okay.
I'll send her number to you if you like.
Huh?
Sure.
Well,
so Julie, Great.
Yes?
So, Julie, does that mean we might soon see the Dragon Klingon song?
I don't know. Yeah. See, so I'm clearing out my life. I'm downsizing, doing a lot of things, getting the clutter out. And as I do that, I really am zeroing in on what it is I'm in command of in my life. So I'm getting closer to this. And it's far-reaching because I'm interested in so many things. I can't help it. I've grown up without being married and without having my own children, but teaching piano to many children. And I just feel like I've been trained to access a huge group, and I need to keep myself ready to be guided for the next step. So,
with Aria Rain, she's been circling the earth for about 3.5 years now, and one of the things that she, a year ago, took a deep interest in was anatomy and physiology, and she'll sit and she'll watch a presenter on anatomy. Literally, she'll sit quietly and watch that for 45 minutes at a time. And one of the children's programs that we've tapped into is one that does anatomy and physiology and astronomy, all kinds of things, but puts it to music. And, when you think about, how did we learn our ABCs? We all know the ABC song. So I could see it being really cool that a video could be created for the YouTube channel with the Dragon Klingon song. And that takes, music takes it deeper and deeper into memory, and Future Recall is going to be impeccable with that. So I could see that as being a pretty cool contribution to getting the work out there.
Mm-hmm. You're right. And Bach, Bach, the Father Bach, J.S. Bach, his music is very good for the mind at a level that allows you to open more when you're studying and taking in new information. So music has these levels that reach, especially nonverbal music, because it's uncoded with words. There's no bias, but the music itself is, to me, so close to the voice of God without words. And okay, yes, I can layer in some words and make a children's song, and we'll see how that comes forth. Because for so much of my life, I was trying to be a capitalist, fitting into the capitalism system to come up with some product, some package for this music that lives in me and moves through me. So we'll see how it packages out.
Sweet. That's awesome.
But I love rhyme. I definitely love rhyme. In fact, rhyme is wisdom in me. I know when rhyme is coming through, it just comes out of thin air. I'm going, oh, that's a nice message, It's a fun way to learn.
It is, most definitely.
So,
cool. Well, anything else for you to share, young lady?
Creation is good. No, I'm good, I think. I appreciate that you were interested in my sharing, and I'm happy to meet these two beautiful people, former students and always a student. Yeah.
Always a student.
Mm-hmm.
We're all eternal students for sure.
We're all doing that,
Eternal students of the forgiveness work and the way out.
Cool.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Julie.
I'll just be listening. Thanks.
Bye.
So, Daniel or JJ, is there anything while you guys were creating this that particularly impacted you? That might, one of the objectives that I have in sharing this is, and of course the radio show's been going on now 5 days a week. We're going into our 11th year in just a couple of weeks, and the idea is to inspire people to pick up the tools and use them. So, is there anything particularly inspirational in the Dragon Klingon game that either of you might have to share with us, or any particular story about changes that you've seen for people or yourself?
I find it it's fun to do. It's you're playing a game, and the idea of it being a game rather than a worksheet helps me because of my
Resistance?
Resistance, yeah, resistance. So this is...
Gee, you tapped into that fast, Daniel.
Belligerent.
Belligerent. And with teenagers, I seem to exhibit that kind of personality and social work. I see that I was like a teenager with my belligerence and stuff. So I made this sort of for the teenager inside of me to speak to them so that they could get the work that you put so much into, Michael.
Yeah.
And
there's a lady that
pieces, you know.
Yeah.
What?
There's a lady that occasionally does the switchboard when Jeannie's stuck on a project and can't be available. And when she first started doing the work, she referred to herself as the most willing, resistant person she'd ever known. that was her label for herself, the most willing, resistant person.
Willing, resistant.
About as good as any of us can do, man.
Yep.
Resistance, huh?
Cosmic grease.
Isn't that
well, you know, you guys haven't been at Heartland for a long time, and for those who maybe have been there, so have the brain cells for having been at Heartland or haven't been there recently, you remember that, you know, our term for willingness was cosmic grease, and just outside the side door of the teaching center, there was a closet that we called cosmic grease, where we used to, if you remember, keep the cleaning supplies. Well, that has now been disappeared. And, you know, we used to have just 2 little bathrooms in the Heart Center. Well, those 2 bathrooms have been taken out, and that area was put into the kitchen. And on that outside where cosmic grease was, we've now got 2 large additional toilets. So we now have a much larger bathroom set up in the Heart Center.
Wow, that's advanced.
So, cool. Well, it's a delight to have you both here. Is there anything else you'd like to share? Any thoughts that might inspire or touch our audience? And I sure do thank you.
I think the picture of the dragon is fabulous.
And in the app, the background's very nice.
Very nice.
Yeah. Yeah, that was Jeannie's work. Jeannie is she is the creator of the world's only forgiveness app, and it's in its 4th iteration. The newest version is she's just built so many things in. It's awesome the way it's making its way in the world. It's pretty cool.
Wow. I really like it where when they get to the release part and they click, and the app will automatically count their points for them. So, Julie, even if you're not adding up your points, the app adds it up for you. And then at the end, it tells you whether you're a gnat or a flying eagle or whatever. And then once you click finish, we do acknowledge you all as the creators of the original game. And we thank you for that. But as they
I love the categories.
As they click, I release this, I release that, then the dragon goes, rah! You know, that's pretty cool.
And I'd forgotten about the categories when people finish it, that I don't remember what all the categories were, but the gnat,
Lost buzzard. Or you could be a very smart eagle.
There you go. Well, I acknowledge you as very smart angels. Thank you.
Oh. Thank you, Mr. Angel and Miss.
All right. Well, any other thoughts? Anything else for you guys to share?
I think for me, one of the things that's really stuck with me over the years is to remember to do the issues that are really small,
yes,
rather than the issues that are really big.
Right.
Tend to me to be much more productive. And this is something that you used to say, of course, over and over again. But I found to be really true is that if I try to tackle too big a project, then I don't get anywhere. But if I can pick the little tiny thing that bugged me and use that as a subject, I tend to be able to be a lot more honest and get more out of the process. Really narrowing down the event as small as possible, I find is really critical part.
Well, back in the days where you guys were so involved and we haven't had a lot of, we talk every once in a while, but we haven't had a lot of contact in many years. But back in the day, the reason I taught the canceling of goals as first century Aramaic forgiveness is because, when I was first introduced to it, I'd bring it up in my workshops, but it was just kind of like a sidebar, and I'd mention it. And then after some time period, people came back and said, I've been doing that, canceling of goals. That's so powerful. And I'd go, oh, really? And after I'd heard that enough, I started to get focused more and more. And back then, I could not explain why and how it worked. I just didn't understand it. It took me literally 35 years to build the brain cells to explain why and how you would ever do such a silly thing as cancel a perfectly wonderful goal. And to share that with you just briefly, one of the things that I've come to understand since back in those early days is that, we used to talk about reality versus actuality, and that reality, the perceptual constructs of the mind, are individual to us. We both, or 10 people, sit in a room and watch something happen, and everybody has a different set of descriptors because every person's mind generates a different construct around whatever happens in the world. We say, I saw what happened in the world, but the truth is, what I really saw was what happened in my mind. And the essence of my book, Why Is This Happening to Me Again, is the reason I get to do it over and over and over again, because I've never addressed or removed it from my mind. And then came the understanding that, you'll notice that unless, somebody's just a generally miserable person, they're pretty much happy with most everybody around them as long as they're doing what we want them to do. As long as they're fulfilling our goals, or we're pretty happy with ourselves as long as we're fulfilling our goals for ourselves. The only time people get upset with somebody, again, unless it's just a generally all-around miserable person, the only time they get upset is when someone violates a goal they hold for them. And that became like a really big piece of the puzzle for my understanding. And then what I realized is that this construct of the mind, you might remember the Harvard research we used to talk about where they documented that in a time frame where 10,000 brain cells were firing, the max amount of data that goes into that perceptual construct is 9 bits of data, a little tiny, tiny piece of information. And what I realized is that the goal is the driver. It's like you load a driver for your printer, and if you change printers, you have to have a different driver. Well, when you change realities, it's because there's a different driver driving the process. So if somebody loads in their mind, perfectly, there's a place in their lives, let's say they have hurt and pain around being treated gently and with care. And so someone comes along and is brutal with them, and the resolution to that is, you cancel your goal to be treated gently and with care. And somebody says, well, that's just stupid. I mean, that's a perfectly good goal. Why would I cancel my goal to be treated gently and respectfully? Well, the reason is not because there's anything wrong with the goal, but because in the mind's file on how we get treated, if there's pain, and I load a goal that calls on that file in my mind, then what the mind is going to do is it's going to use that unresolved pain to build our perceptual construct. And then we get stuck in that construct. And when I remove the driver, when I cancel the goal, if I remove the driver from my computer, I'm not going to print to my HP printer ever again until I reload the driver. When I remove the driver, the goal from my mind to be treated gently and with respect, then my pained perception that comes out of that hidden part of my mind collapses in on itself. And when it collapses in on itself, I have access to that hidden part of my mind. And there, to me, is like the most genius piece of information that Yeshua came up with 2,000 years ago, of recognizing that forgiveness, the word in Aramaic, if you remember, is shabag, it means to cancel, that when I cancel a perfectly good goal, I don't do it because there's anything wrong with it, but that I do it because when I load it into my mind, it causes my mind to use corrupt data, something painful. and I get to resolve it by canceling the goal. So it took me 35 years to learn to explain how and why it worked, and every time I think about it, it's mind-boggling for me.
Well, if I forget, can I give you a call?
You sure can. Well, I'll send you a couple of new links. One of the things we had we have a fellow who's a corporate trainer that came to teachers training back 4 or 5 years ago, and afterward he said, I'm really good with PowerPoint, so I would like to create a PowerPoint that explains why and how this Aramaic forgiveness process does, the way you explain it in the workshop. Well, we spent about a year going back and forth, and he created a PowerPoint. I'll send you a copy of that, and it just lays out step by step by step. And anybody that's listening, you can access it if you go to our website, whyagain, whyagain.org. There's a link there for our YouTube channel. Click that and just put in the word PowerPoint, and you'll see that it's about a 20-minute, goes through each step of why and how it works, and it's really pretty cool. So I'll send you a copy of that.
Oh, that's great. Okay, in fact, Daniel's pulling it up on the internet here. Oh, there's a picture
of you. Yeah, if you just go to YouTube, you can just put in Michael Ryce too, R-Y-C-E, and then PowerPoint, and it will be there along with, I don't even know how many videos we've got on our YouTube channel now, but quite a few. Another fun one to look at is on the YouTube channel is one called What is the World?
I wonder that.
What is the world? It's another interesting video there. So,
is it what it is, or is it our notions about it?
Well, what that lesson gets into is the distinction between the capital W world. What's the actuality? What is the larger? Here we are in, that time frame where psychologists determined 9 bits of data out of 10,000 brain cells firing. It's been estimated that the actuality, the actual world, consists of perhaps as much as 20 trillion bits of data. And then we have this little 9-bit world between our ears that we call the world. And in that particular video, I distinguished between the capital W world, the 20 trillion bit world, and the 9-bit world, the lowercase world, the one between our ears that's made up of our own unresolved content, and that we keep, plowing away at until we can collapse it, get to what's at the root of it and clean it out, and then start to move into a larger understanding of the actual creation in the world that we live in.
What does that collapsing of it look like to you?
Well, it looks like when I want to collapse the lowercase W world, the 9-bit construct of my mind, I locate specifically and precisely the goal that drives that perceptual construct. And then I shabag, in Aramaic, shabag or shabak, I cancel that goal. The word that the Greeks translated as forgive is actually translates to cancel. So when I cancel the goal, the driver for my lowercase w 9-bit world removed, that world collapses. And when it collapses in on itself. It goes from, what I'm conscious of, I just know that I'm in pain and it must be your fault. And when I collapse it, I can drop into the memory of the child of 3 being abused, and that's where the pain really comes from. And so I can drop into and clean out with the presence of love those unresolved parts of the mind that hold not only my pain, but the pain of my generations. And when I give that up, all of a sudden I become the possibilities are endless, because I'm not locked into that, why is this happening to me again experience, or some people, on occasion we've had people call looking for my book, and they'll say, I understand you have this book, why am I doing this to myself again, or why are they doing this to me again?
That's what it was. It really was.
Yeah, you could name it that.
But yeah. So way back in the day, I didn't know how to explain how it worked. I just knew it worked. I just seen it happen so much that it's like, it literally became my life's work. And now, having stuck to it for 35 years, and maybe I'm a slow learner, but I certainly understand why the Greeks didn't understand it and why it's still presented as, I'm going to let you off the hook for what's happening inside of me because, this pain that's inside of me, I'm using it to build my brain's image of you, and you show up in my brain with my pain attached, so it must be your fault. And, it's like after I've been through it 87 different times with 42 different people, maybe I get smart and go, every time this has happened to me, I've been here, maybe this is about me. And then, taking that tool of canceling the goal is just such a genius piece of information because it allows us to look at what's hidden in our unconscious. You look back and, in the ancient teachings, they said, take care of the heart, for out of it are the issues in life. They didn't say, take care of the other guy, take care of your spouse, take care of your kid, take care of your government, take care of your president. They didn't say any of that. They said, take care of the heart. And that word heart in our modern updated language would be the unconscious. Where are the issues that I get to deal with in my life? They're in my unconscious. Where are the issues you get to deal with in your life? They're in your unconscious. How do I get into my unconscious? I cancel the goal, collapse the projection of my unconscious onto you, and I get to access my own unconscious dynamics and clean them up. It's monumental when people start to build the brain cells and get that. It's just monumental what that does for people.
What do you suggest for people today that feel like the whole world is being strange here in this particular era?
Well, at this point, I would have to agree with them. It is. The strain, the stress, the rage, the fight, the strife is monumental. But when somebody says, well, looking at the way the world is, it really hurts me, my conversation with that person would be, well, notice that every time you've had, first of all, have you ever had this quality of hurt before? Oh, yeah, I can remember all the way back to when I was 10. Okay, so if you recognize this quality of hurt, then recognize that when you say the world is causing your hurt, you're in denial. And the definition we now have of the word denial in this work is whenever I think or speak as though something outside of me is the cause of what's moving inside of me, I'm in denial. The pretense that you could possibly make something happen inside of me is my denial. And when I think or speak as though something outside of me is causing what's happening inside of me, and I'm in denial, then the next thing I have to realize is that in order to believe that lie, I have to dissociate from the part of my mind that's causing the pain. I create this unnatural condition called an unconscious, or what in the ancient scriptures they called the heart. So now I've got an unconscious mind. I run around, and everything I never wanted to deal with, I never look at. But when somebody triggers it, I put it into my brain's image of them, and I project it into my brain's image of them. I literally put the content of my unconscious into my brain's image of that person that I want to blame. And then, the magical thing that the mind does is it transforms my thought into a picture, and I see an actual picture of you being the problem in my life. And I believe the picture. I believe the projection. And it's, what to me, what Yeshua brought 2,000 years ago that was so genius is he showed people how to collapse their projections and access their own unconscious mind directly and clean out the garbage so they don't have to live in the why is this happening to me again experience. It's monumental.
It is monumental.
So now I would coach that person thinks they're in all kinds of pain because of what's going on in the world to be responsible for their pain. Having done that and cleaned the pain out of their mind, they'll look at the world and they'll go, this is really crazy. But instead of bringing a mind of pain and hurt and blame and rage and guilt and fight and strife, they bring a mind of love to the world. And when they bring a mind of love to the world starts to heal just a little bit more. Just a little bit more. And if we get enough people, Yeshua 2,000 years ago, the physicist said a little leavening leavens the whole loaf. He wasn't talking about bread. He was talking about humanity. And that it would only take a small number of committed people who would bring the mind of love to the insanity, that they would hit critical mass, a principle in physics that says that little bit of shift will then touch the whole mass, and the whole mass will change. That's what I've been working for the last 50 years, is to bring this forward to enough minds that we can create a critical mass of people who can stop and go, yeah, this is really crazy, and instead of bringing my craziness to it and blaming the world, I'm going to bring my sanity and my being. You know, it's interesting. Aria Rain is 3.5 now. She's been circling the earth, and back a couple of months ago, we had her. You know, we have her 3 days a week, and she went home, and her mom was feeling sick, and she went over and put her hands on her mom, which we've been kind of teaching her to do, and she said, "Mom, I want to heal people with my love and my healing power." And her mom said to her, "So are you going to be a doctor when you grow up?" And Aria says, "Yes, I am. But first I'm going to grow a big mouth and big teeth and be a dinosaur." So she's going to be a dinosaur first and then a doctor. But, you know, one of the things we do with her often is we'll ask, I'll turn to Jeannie, and, you know, we'll be playing with her, and I'll say, "Jeannie," or actually we call her Nini now, Aria's name for her, "Nini, why are you here?" And Nini will say, "To be love." Or Jeannie will say to me, "Michael, why are we here?" And I'll say, "To be love." And now it's pretty much the standard response for Aria. We ask, you know, "Why are we here?" "To be love." You know, she knows it already. And wow, if we'd have only been taught that one, how different would our lives have been?
Yeah. Well, I just really talking about this, and it's waking me up. In fact, we had just pulled out these worksheets, and we were going to do some, so I'm glad you brought it to our attention, because that was 2 weeks ago.
How easy it is for the non-being mind to push it away, right? Well, you know, it's interesting. You say it again?
They were right on the table. We found them.
There you go. Well, it's interesting. You started out the conversation with resistance, and I don't know whether I knew this back when you guys were around the work a lot, but in Aramaic, the word Satan is not the dude with the red suit, the tail, and the pitchfork the Greek religionists would have us believe. The word Satan means the resistor, one who misleads. And you watch the average person who's in their trauma and pain again, and you say, "Well, have you ever considered that you might be responsible?" And what are they going to say to you? No, nothing to do with me. It's not my fault. They go into resistance, and then they'll tell you the whole story about how it's about somebody else, the mislead. Literally, most of the world is trapped in Satan, in the Aramaic definition of Satan. Nobody wants to be responsible for the pain. Everybody's got somebody else to blame. And that literally, in Aramaic, you know, the context, if someone, you know, 2,000 years ago, there's a particular passage where Yeshua turns to Peter, and he directly addresses Peter as Satan. He says, "Get thee behind me, Satan." And then he defines what it means. He says, "For you think in the mind of man rather than the plan of the Creator." When we're stuck in our own perceptual constructs, we cut ourselves out of the capital W world, and we live in this little niche world based in 1,000 generations of trauma, and we refuse and don't want to feel and deal with and heal the generational trauma that most everybody carries around. You know, to me, the wisdom of the Native Americans, you know, they have a phrase they use when they go into a sweat lodge or a healing ceremony, and their phrase is "Matakwiasin," which means "for all my relations." They knew, like, if you sit down and do a worksheet, you're not just doing it for you, you're literally opening the energy gate, the energy window for the generations to be freed from the family trauma, from the family unconsciousness. Actually, that's the title of Jeannie's new book. Jeannie's working on a book entitled "Healing the Generations One Breath at a Time."
That's great.
Yeah, there's another link I'll send you. There's a lady that's been doing the work for about a dozen years, and back a few months ago we did a 16-week codependence to interdependence intensive online. And this woman was getting ready to go into the hospital for some heart challenges she was having. And she had the assignment of, looking at the heart and asking her generations about their heart issues. And she ended up in a full-blown conversation with her deceased grandfather, who shared where his rage and abuse came from when they left Lithuania, where they were starving to death, and came to America, where the streets were supposed to be paved with gold, and ended up literally having to dig a hole in the ground to live in, and crop failures and the pain of not knowing whether they were going to survive, and how he took it out on his wife and his daughter. And I mean, she had this full-blown healing conversation, brought her grandfather into it. It's just, I mean, when this happened in the intensive, she had me in tears as it was happening. And then the next week she called into the radio show and shared, and it was just like, I was in tears again. It was so powerful to hear the detail of the conversation, and the healing that happened was just monumental. So there are those generations in us that are begging for us to open up and generate that healing so that they can be released and freed. Metakoyasan.
Yeah, my relation. My good friend Stormstar up in Taos talks about that.
Right. Yeah. And then you go back and you look at, the Jewish culture, and you look at this story where supposedly these, pretty bright people who've written quite a bit about astronomy. They know astronomy pretty well, and we're told that they got lost in a 35 square mile hot sandy place, a desert, for 40 years. Which is really pretty silly to think about. These people who know about astronomy, to be lost in a 35 square mile area that, they didn't know enough one morning to get up and follow the sun west and to get out of this 35 square mile area. But recognizing that word desert in that teaching is a code word for the unconscious. And most people live to about the age of 40 before they start scratching their heads and going, why am I doing this to myself again? I've been doing this for 40 years and I'm still doing it. It's time for me to find something to get out of the desert. And then if you read that passage, where they talk about that in the ancient scriptures, they tell you the resolution, the way to get out of the desert. It says the old generation has to die off. It doesn't mean everybody in old physical bodies has to physically die. The root of the word generation is genari. It means cause. All of the old causes literally held in our genes have to be removed. Elsewise, we're going to play it out again and again and again and pass it on to the next generation. And to me, one of the most powerful understandings is that we can literally open the energy field for our children, our grandchildren, and their children to be freed. I love what Jonas Salk says, who invented the Salk vaccine. He said that the most important thing we can be is good ancestors. What's the gift for your daughter's baby? For you to do your work and be a good ancestor.
Oh, my gosh.
That's a good thought.
That's wonderful.
I had an opening about, maybe 6 or 8 months ago. I was doing a still point session, and I was focusing on generational issues. And it was like, my eyes are closed, and I'm doing still point, and I'm guided to look down inside. So I'm now, my head's slightly tipped, and I'm looking down inside of my body, not literally, but metaphorically, and I can literally see just an uncountable number of flecks of light, just little spots of light in all of this darkness. And as I kept breathing into that and watching it, I was informed that what I was looking at were my generations in darkness and these little flecks of light. And they were just like, more than I could possibly count. It was just like an unfathomable number of people, and each surrounded in darkness, but this little speck of light, and that they were waiting for me to open and embrace that darkness and bring it to the light for them. And that was a powerful, that's one of the most powerful openings I've ever had in the years of doing this work. And coincidentally, this past week, Jeannie went to see her dad in the rehab facility, and I was doing another still point session. And I had gone back to that memory from several months ago, and I was kind of talking to my ancestors and just saying, I'm willing on another level to embrace everything that's never been resolved for us in our bloodline. And as I was having that conversation, inside of myself, my phone rang. And Michael J., who you know well, was on the phone. Hey, Dad, I'm on Ancestry.com, and I need some help with some family names. Literally, within 5 seconds after I verbalized this, as I'm breathing, I said out loud, I'm willing to embrace this generational pain and help to bring it to healing. And within 5 seconds, Michael J. made that phone call, and we spent the next half hour. I'm still in a breath session, and we spent the next half hour talking about, this ancestor, that ancestor, how do we get there? And he's on the computer doing it as we're doing it.
Well, he'll chase it down.
Oh, he's on it. He's on it big time. We've had 2 or 3 conversations since.
Tell Michael J. we give him a big hug.
Oh, I will. I definitely will. He'll be delighted to hear that.
Yeah. Tell him it sounds like good work.
Yeah, he's pretty amazing. We just had a week vacation with he and Krista. Krista has 2 girls now. Adeline, who just turned 10 in December, and Avery Catherine is about a year and a half. So we just, a couple of weeks ago, had 4 timeshares in the Smokies here, and Krista and her husband and the 2 girls came, and Michael J. and his girlfriend, and CJ came, and Gabby came up with Aria. So the cousins met for the first time, and we just got to hang out and play for a week. So it was a pretty sweet week.
Wow,
so I'll tell them you said hello.
Oh, big hi to everybody, and someday maybe you can post us up a picture of those 2 babies. Oh,
absolutely. We've got lots of videos and all on our Facebook page. We post them all the time.
No problem.
Yeah, there's some awesome videos. There are 2 or 3 of them in particular. I'll send you links to them. It's like I watch them and I watch them and I watch them and I watch them, and I just can't watch them enough. It's just awesome.
That's a wonderful thing, Michael.
How is your daughter Isis doing, by the way?
Huh?
How is your daughter Isis doing these days?
Yeah. She's up in D.C. She got a new job. What is she, vice president or something?
Something or other, yeah.
Yeah. She just left
really?
Booz Allen, and they were promoting her, and in the middle of it, she left for this other job. So what is it of, Daniel?
She's a data scientist, and she got hired into this company as the vice president in charge of data science with 13 people under her, and that's her new job. So,
awesome. Well, congratulations to Isis.
I guess. Yeah. And she
That's
has
awesome.
She has 5 guinea pigs in a house she's built in the living room, but they have 3rd floor and everything, 2nd floor.
Oh, really? Cool.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Crazy.
Yeah, well, we've got about 9 minutes left, and we might have somebody in our audience that has a question for you guys. It's kind of fun to catch our audience up with some of the history of Heartland, and in particular that part of the app with the Dragon Cleon game you guys created. So, Miss Jeannie, is there anybody in the phone queue with a hand up or anything happening in the chat room where somebody might have a question or a thought for Daniel or JJ?
There are no hands up, but there's several people listening, so if someone has a question, press 1, and you are first in line.
Yeah, if you're out there in listener land and you've thought of something that we haven't thought of, go ahead, sweetie.
No, I started to say I got a text, but it's not on the show. So.
Okay. Cool. Well, any other thoughts for you guys?
No, just that we're glad to hear from you, and glad to hear people are doing the work. And it's really fun to work with these particular worksheets because it gets the kids in when they're younger to be able to get it and think of it as fun. And that's
exactly. And and I'm thankful, Ryan, and I'm thankful to Julie for calling into the show yesterday and bringing up how, as a senior, as she identified herself today, how it opened up that childhood space in her. So it's like, it's a whole other application that we've never really put out there, but we'll start to put that out more because of that input from Julie. So thank you, Julie.
And JJ, what was the name of the school again that you said you taught this at? Angel something?
It's called, the actual name of the school is Moreno Valley High School. Moreno, Moreno Valley. It's in a town called Angel Fire, New Mexico.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
Ran the place.
Cool. Well, maybe once you've got a chance to put the pen to some of those worksheets that have been sitting on the table for 2 weeks, maybe you'll call in and share some of the results. Or, we've got this app that if you just go to your app store and you type in Heartland Aramaic Forgiveness, it's there. It's free. One of the things we did with the app, by the way, from a technical point of view, Daniel, with your technology history, you'll probably appreciate this, is we purposely created it with as few permissions as possible. You know how you open a lot of apps and they want to control your phone and your camera and your microphone and send text and make phone calls. Well, there's only one permission required for people to use this app, and that is for the app to be able to use the internet. When people complete a worksheet, they can choose to save it. They can close the app out and it's gone, or they can choose to save it as a PDF. And if they do, then a second permission is required, and that is, to write to the hard drive. But otherwise, there are no permissions, so that people can feel truly comfortable knowing they're the only ones that are ever going to see. Sometimes people get into some really sensitive stuff. I remember back a few years ago, we were doing an intensive out west, and it was in the fall, so it was cool. And, one of the things I usually suggest to people in their written worksheets is they keep track of them. They keep a book of them. And we were completing this intensive, and one fellow was going over, we had a fireplace, and he had a whole stack of worksheets, and he's going to throw them in the fire. And it's like, what are you doing? He said, you think I'm taking these home with me? So he's the one actually that inspired us to be careful and create the app, so it was as totally private as possible, so that people can put sensitive things in there and not be concerned about somebody else seeing it. It can be very private, the healing process for sure. So we've had a lot of teachers along the way. So many people give us pieces of learning, like you guys have, like this fellow did out west, like Julie did, just yesterday. It's like, wow, this has impacted me as an adult. And there's so many people to thank for the way this work has developed and come together, and how it just keeps growing. And I don't know if you've looked at the website lately, but the book is now in 8 different languages. One of the most recent ones, we were doing a show, this probably goes back about 2 years ago, and Jeannie got an email in the middle of the show, and it was from a man in Denmark, and he said, hey, I found your book online, I downloaded it, I read it, started doing worksheets, and it's impacted my life so much, and there attached is a full translation of the book into Dutch. He was from Holland. And he translated the book in Dutch so that people who spoke Dutch would have access to the tools and the principles. And that's the way, 8 different translations of the book have been done, is by that by that same principle, people are like, we need this in our language. So sure thankful to a lot of people.
That's fabulous.
Yeah, it is. We're blessed. We're blessed. Gratitude for all that we have, especially in this world where so many people are suffering and in lack and in pain. So joining you and holding a space for them and a healing space for the whole world.
Yes, very much so.
All right, well, we're down to the last minute, so I'm just going to say thank you for joining us. It's really been delightful to hang out and play, and I hope everybody who's listening enjoyed sharing, getting to connect with Daniel and JJ some. And everybody create the best year yet of your eternal life. It's an awesome gift to give the world. The world needs it. You can create it. Let's go for it. Blessings. Bye-bye.